Peace to everybody, back with another video. This is thousands of Americans to take part in biggest rent strike in decades. So there are going to be millions of people that can't afford their rent, their mortgage, and whatever else they got going on because of this so-called lockdown that is a big joke to everybody. And of course, California has lost their constitutional rights because the police had pushed people back from the steps. I do believe at the city hall or wherever it was at. So California has lost their rights, and I'm sorry that it had to go. Sorry to say this, but it had to go that far. It's a shame what's going on. It says California under Governor Newsom. Yeah, he's keeping people from having their rights right now. So it's just might as well say goodbye to California's rights. And also Canada has lost their gun rights as well, but it's for the assault rifles. Just seriously, more things are going to come. More bad things are going to come. And unless you get rid of these globalist shadow governments immediately, because once everything is gone, that's it. There's nothing left. No rights, no anything. So I'm sorry that it had to go that far. And as you can see, here's somebody holding up a sign that says "End Rent Now." So thousands of Americans plan to take part in a rent strike on Friday, calling for state leaders to cancel rent during the virus crisis. Yeah, so a lot of people had their rent strike because they want to pay their rent and pay their mortgage, and now they can't because it's been suspended, which I find that kind of odd. I mean, people are going to be thrown out of their houses because they can't pay the rent. Also, food, they won't be able to afford food for their family as well. So more stuff is going to happen as the days go by, because this is not right what the globalist shadow governments are doing to us. I mean, we've had enough of all of this mess, and you know what, it needs to stop somewhere by standing up for your rights. Because you know what, as long as you're allowing these globalist shadow governments control you, they're going to take more of your rights away, literally. And this is only the beginning of it. The rent, it's gone. How are people going to live now? Activists in New York, Pennsylvania, and California are encouraging tenants to withhold rent, whether they are able to pay or not, to draw attention to the plight of those unable to pay. Yes, so you got the activists in New York, Pennsylvania, and California. Those are the three main states right there. They are encouraging tenants to withhold rent, whether they are able to pay or not, to draw attention to the plight of those unable to pay. So those who can't pay the rent or whatever, just withhold it. Just hold it from the landlords, because this is the only way they're gonna listen to anybody. The protest is expected to represent the largest coordinated rent strike in America in decades, and come as the Labor Department announced another 3.8 million people lost their jobs last week, with pressure growing on state leaders nationwide to increase their efforts on housing. Yeah, so now you got more people that had lost their jobs last week, 3.8 million of them. The protest is expected to represent the largest coordinated rent strike in America in decades. So they are really it's really going to get worse. The rent cannot be paid. The mortgages can't be paid. So what are people supposed to do now? And all you can do is fight for your freedom because they're using this virus to take away your civil rights. And once they're taken, that's it. You have no say in anything. And this is becoming a new world order now, a one world order now. And all you patriots can't allow them to do this. The one world order is here now, thanks to the globalists and the shadow governments. They have done this to everybody. More than 30 million Americans have filed for unemployment benefits in the past 6 weeks as the virus has caused widespread business closures. Yeah, so the businesses are not getting no bailouts. I mean, I'm sorry, but this is what it is now. And of course, there are more than 30 million Americans have filed for unemployment benefits in the past 6 weeks. So imagine 30 million Americans plus another millions of people that have filed for unemployment. The New York Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is among those voicing support for the strikes, which are being coordinated by an array of housing groups. Well, you know what? Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez could sit down, could have several seats, and shut up, because she's part of the globalists as well. She's part of the one world order. And is among those voicing support for the strikes, which are being coordinated by the area of housing groups. Yeah, these globalists, shadow governments, they play God, they play victims, and they pretend to care about you when they don't. They're making this whole world a one world order. That's where it's coming to right now. And like I told you at the beginning, California just lost their freedom entirely because the police, they had a whole bunch of police officers at the I don't like I said, I don't know if it's the city hall or whatever place they were at, but they kept pushing people back. And this is what it's coming to right now. People aren't striking because they don't feel like paying rent. They are striking because they can't, Ocasio-Cortez said. Well, Ocasio-Cortez needs a slap in the face, literally. So who is she to tell her story when she's not even American herself? And this is what she's saying. People aren't striking because they don't feel like paying rent. They're striking because they can't. Well, how can they when you got a one world order in place right now? I mean, seriously? This is why people are losing their jobs, because of one world order. And if you think I'm playing now, think again, because the worst is yet to come. In New York, more than 12,000 people have pledged to not pay their rent, and progressive state lawmakers have proposed legislation that would suspend or cancel rent payments for tenants who lost income due to the virus in March. New York's Governor Andrew Cuomo suspended evictions for 90 days in a move that prevents landlords from ousting tenants who cannot pay their rent. Well, first of all, you know what? Andrew Cuomo's a puppet. I'm sorry to say. He's a puppet for the globalist shadow government. I'm sorry to say. And believe me, I would love to slap him so hard that he would see the next millennium to another planet somewhere. Besides, who is he to tell people what to do anyways? The governors are really supposed to protect us as well, protect our constitutional rights, and they're not doing it because they don't care about anybody. They only care about themselves and their one world order. That's all they care about. It's already here, people, the one world order. And if you don't stand up for your rights right now, your constitutional rights are gone. Like I said, California just lost theirs. More states are going to follow. Canada, they just lost their rights to have assault rifle guns. They lost those. They just stripped them of it. So, like I said, it's sad what this world is coming to, because right now this world is in a war. It is literally in a war. But critics say that merely postpones the problem. We need a suspension of rent and automatic forgiveness to any rent, mortgage, or utility payments owed or accumulated during the length of this crisis, said Housing Justice for All, which campaigns to increase tenants' rights and to end homelessness in New York. Well, yeah, New York does have homeless people all over the place. It doesn't matter really. And of course, I mean, and also, and of course, it says we need a suspension of rent and automatic forgiveness of any rent. That means you got to see like the mortgage, utility payment owed to accumulated during this length of this crisis. All I can say is welcome to your new world order, because this is what it is now. Like Governor Gavin Newsom of California has barred evictions due to virus hardship. Tenants must provide proof their income has been affected by the pandemic, but stopped short of waiving individuals' rent payments. About 8,000 members of the Los Angeles tenants unions are expected to withhold rent as of May 1st, while a similar movement is taking place in Philadelphia. So May 1st today, there are tenants union are expected to withhold their rent as of today, which is May 1st. Um, I mean, tenants are not going to pay rent. They're not. They're just going to withhold it because they are tired of all this crap that is going on. People are seriously going to be thrown out of their houses. So, but even though is, where are people going to go? If the estimates of New York City organizers prove accurate, the rent strike would be the largest there since the 1930s. Then, when tenants in Harlem and the Lower East Side demanded lower rent in Harlem, the protesters were predominantly African Americans who protested against being charged higher rent than white tenants. Well, first of all, that's not right. That's not right at all. You charging more rent for black people than you do white people. What kind of crap is this? What kind of crap is this? That doesn't seem right. This is in New York City. If the estimates of New York City organizers prove are accurate, the rent strike would be the largest there since the 1930s. Now think about the 1930s, when the tenants in Harlem and the Lower East Side demanded lower rent in Harlem. So why charge black people more rent and white people lower rent? That's not right at all. It's a wrong thing to do. They cannot do this. It's against their rights, but obviously their rights are going to be taken too. It's happening all over the world. Rights are being taken away, and we're not going to have a say so in anything unless the patriots stand up for their rights and fight back against these globalist shadow governments. How dare New York City do this? I'm serious, people. Stand up for your rights, because once all the constitutional rights are gone, you got no say so in anything. You got to do as they tell you. I mean, people with jobs, yeah, you're the one that gave your rights over to the government. I'm lucky not to have a job ever. You signed all your rights over to the globalist shadow governments. And the governors are supposed to protect the constitutional rights, and they're not even doing that. Look what's becoming to. California became a police state all of a sudden. They lost their rights. No matter how much they protest. People got arrested out in California today. I don't know how many were arrested, but yeah, they got arrested today for standing up for their rights. While they let the criminals out, us abide laws citizens are getting thrown in jail now. Look at how California had arrested people by the police. It's becoming worse every day. It's becoming worse every day. I mean, they're getting away with all of this mess. They're getting away with it. The globalist shadow governments are. They're taking over this world. They want to make it a one world order, and that's what they're doing right now. And if you're smart enough, don't vote in no more Democrats, because they're the globalists and they're evil. They are the globalist shadow governments. They're trying to take control of your rights. Remember the First Amendment, freedom of speech. We do have a right to speak out. Don't let these people take over. Leave your comments below. I am out.